Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever find yourself trying to tackle a problem, switching from one idea to another, and wondering if you are just spinning your wheels? Or maybe you've noticed that sometimes the harder you try to be flexible, the more stuck you feel. Well, this new study dives deep into that very question. Is more flexibility always better for our mental health? So, what is this regulatory flexibility? Think of it as your superpower for dealing with life's challenges. It is not just about sticking to one plan, but about being able to switch gears, try different strategies, and pick the best one for whatever situation you are facing. Scientists believe this ability is super important for our general well-being, helping us bounce back from tough times and stay resilient. But the big question is, does having more of this flexibility always lead to better mental health? Or could there be a point where too much flexibility actually becomes a problem? That is what we're exploring today. The researchers in this study wanted to dig into two main things. First, they asked, how broadly does this flexibility relate to different parts of our mental health? We know it is linked to avoiding bad stuff like anxiety and depression. But what about the good stuff, like feeling happy and satisfied with life? They wanted to see if flexibility boosted both the good and reduced the bad. Second, they tackled that more is better question head-on. Is there a sweet spot for flexibility, or can you just keep being more flexible until you are perfectly happy? They suspected it might not be a straight-line relationship, meaning more might not always mean more good. To figure this out, they looked at data from a large group of people, almost 3,000 in total. Imagine a bunch of people trying to achieve different goals, like eating healthier, saving money, or getting a good grade in school. For each of these goals, participants filled out surveys. They were asked about their ability to switch strategies when things got tough, or when the situation changed. They also answered questions about their mood, their levels of anxiety and depression, and how satisfied they were with their lives, how much meaning they found, and how much they felt they were thriving. Now, let's get to what they found, because it is pretty interesting. So, the first big finding confirms what many suspected: being more flexible generally means better mental health. People who felt they could adapt their strategies easily reported less anxiety and depression. That is great news because it means this ability can act like a shield against negative feelings. But it gets even better. They also found that more flexibility was linked to more positive feelings. People who were more flexible tended to report higher life satisfaction, a greater sense of meaning in their lives, felt they were thriving more, and had better overall positive mental health. This suggests that flexibility doesn't just protect us from the bad, it actively helps us build the good. The researchers used some pretty sophisticated ways to analyze their data, like meta-analysis and mega-analysis. Basically, they ran the numbers and then ran them again on combined data from all the participants. This means their findings are pretty robust, meaning they're likely to be true. They even checked to see if these results held true no matter what goal people were working towards. And they did. Whether people were trying to eat better, save money, or study harder, the more flexible they were, the better they felt. But what about that second question, is more flexibility always better? This is where things get a little more nuanced. When they looked at the relationship between flexibility and ill-being, like anxiety and depression, they found that more flexibility seemed to be consistently good. There wasn't really a point where being too flexible started to make anxiety or depression worse. It just kept getting better as flexibility increased. However, when they looked at well-being, that is life satisfaction, meaning thriving and positive mental health, the story was a bit different. They found what is called a quadratic association. Now, a quadratic association means the relationship isn't just a straight line going up. Instead, it looked more like a curve where the benefits of flexibility continued to increase, but at a slower and slower rate as flexibility got really high. Imagine climbing a hill. You keep going up, but as you get closer to the peak, each step takes a little more effort for a smaller increase in height. This is what they call diminishing returns. So, while being more flexible was always good for well-being, the amount of extra well-being you got from becoming even more flexible started to level off. This is a really important distinction. For avoiding the bad stuff, more flexibility seems to be an open-ended win. For building the good stuff, it is also a win, but the extra boost you get might get smaller the more flexible you already are. It suggests there might be a point where other factors become more important for boosting your well-being beyond just how flexible you are. So, what does this mean for us in the real world? It reinforces the idea that being able to adapt and switch our strategies is a really valuable skill. It helps us navigate the challenges of life, reducing our stress and negative emotions. And it also contributes to the positive aspects of our lives. The finding about diminishing returns for Being is also key. It implies that while aiming for flexibility is great, focusing solely on becoming super flexible might not be the only path to a truly flourishing life. Perhaps other things like developing a strong sense of purpose or engaging deeply with meaningful activities become more critical once a certain level of flexibility is achieved. The researchers also point out that flexibility might work differently for reducing distress compared to building positive states. Think of it like medicine. Some medicines are great at fighting off illness, while others are more about building up your body's strength. Flexibility seems to be really good at fighting off the illness of negative emotions for building strength or wealth. Being, it is also helpful, but maybe it needs to work hand in hand with other things. Now, it is worth acknowledging that even the best tools can be misused or might not be the right tool for every single job. The researchers mentioned that while flexibility is generally good, there might be situations where switching strategies too much or too quickly could be counterproductive. It is about using the right strategy at the right time. Future research could look at how people actually use their flexibility in their daily lives, not just how flexible they think they are. This could involve things like tracking their strategy use over time through diary entries or apps. Overall, this study paints a really positive picture of regulatory flexibility. It shows that having this ability is broadly beneficial for our mental health, helping us cope with stress and enhancing our overall sense of well-being. While it seems like more flexibility is always better for avoiding bad feelings, for building good feelings, we might see diminishing returns at the very highest levels. It's a reminder that while adaptability is a powerful tool, understanding its nuances and how it interacts with other aspects of our lives is key to truly thriving. What do you think about these findings? Do you find yourself being flexible with your strategies? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more insights into the fascinating world of psychology. We'll see you in the next one.